Schumer blasting President Trump for downplaying the potential danger of the coronavirus outbreak. Schumer demanding Trump, quote, level with the American public.
We need the president and his team to level with the American people and tell the truth, more during a health crisis than ever before. Our public health professionals must tell the president the facts, and the president and his team must tell the American public the facts, just the facts.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says keeping the country safe is the government's overriding priority. It released Britain's coronavirus action plan, including worst-case scenario estimates. British firms are being warned that up to 20% of their workforce could be forced to take time off. And Pope Francis testing negative for the coronavirus following concerns he had become infected. And that might be the reason that he canceled most of his meetings last week. But the Vatican saying just moments ago he is simply suffering from a regular cold. That's the news update this hour. Kelly, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Sue, thanks very much. Our Sue Herrera. Again, even as we've been speaking, markets continue to take on a more negative fashion this afternoon. The Dow down 695 points. That's a fresh session low, and the Treasury yield on the 10-year, 1.02%. There we are, down now about 7.11. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, the president has been criticized for saying a coronavirus vaccine could be coming soon. Where do things really stand? We'll ask an expert whose company has been leading the effort to find a treatment. Regeneron CEO Dr. Leonard Schleifer joins us next.
Take your business card, make the most of it with more shapes, stalks, and finishes from Vistaprint. And now get free shipping on all business cards, any style, any quantity, with promo code VCNOW. Own the now with Vistaprint.
Did you know that you can sell your life insurance policy for cash now? Paul just sold his. Yesterday, he was struggling to pay his medical bills and life insurance premiums. Today, he's rich. You can cash out on your policy, too. If you're over 70 or have a terminal illness with over $50,000 of life insurance, chances are you can sell your policy for cash now. Call Harbor Life to get a free, no-obligation quote and see what your policy is worth. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse. Call now or visit HarborLifeSettlements.com to find out how to get the highest price for your policy.
Call 1-800-733-8314 right now, and Harbor Life will send you 2 free brochures on what insurance companies don't want you to know. Once again, the phone number is 1-800-733-8314. Call now to see if you qualify.
I sent your new prescription to the pharmacy.
Any idea how much it will cost?
You have a choice. Insurance or GoodRx?
I have insurance.
Insurance is not what it used to be. People struggle to get their prescriptions covered, and prices keep rising. I recommend GoodRx. You get free coupons to save on your prescriptions. Compare prices to find the best discounts.
GoodRx. Smart.
Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
I finally got to start my career. Except that I was spending thousands of dollars on interest on my student loans and I needed to refinance. And then I found Credible.com. Within just a few minutes, I had actual rates from lots of lenders. Now I'm saving thousands of dollars and I'll be out of debt much sooner. And I can focus on my future. It was so easy, I wish I had done it years ago.
Visit Credible.com to see how much you could save on your student loans.
The biggest day of the race so far. 14 states and over 1,300 delegates in play. We'll be with the campaigns at the big board, breaking down the results of Super Tuesday. All-day coverage today on MSNBC.
Welcome back. We have moved lower in just the last little while here. The Dow hit a decline of 720 points just during that break moments ago. We're down about 630 right now, so we are bouncing around quite a lot. More than 2% drop for the major indexes. That does put us back down 10% from the recent highs. Whether this is the tail or the dog, or who's wagging its tail here is what I'm trying to say. Take a look at the 10-year yield, which is falling in conjunction as well. We went to 1.017% just moments ago. We're back up at, even as I say it there, hit 102. Now we're slightly back below that level. We'll continue watching it very, very closely. As the Fed responds to the coronavirus outbreak today with a rate cut, the medical world is working overtime in an attempt to find a treatment. Regeneron is one of the companies leading that work, and Meg Terrell is here with a special guest and more on that first, Meg.
Well, hey, Kelly, the company was one of 10 at the White House yesterday to discuss a race for a vaccine or treatment for the novel coronavirus. Timelines for a vaccine, even as they're moving at record speed, are still estimated to be at least a year. Treatments may be faster, and Regeneron is working on an approach that could be both protective, like a vaccine, and used to treat the disease. It involves antibodies the company creates by using mice they've genetically engineered to have human immune systems. They then expose the mice to part of the virus and choose the best antibodies they create in response. They successfully used the same approach to develop a drug for Ebola. Regeneron laid out a timeline yesterday for the work, which began earlier this year, citing a goal of having hundreds of thousands of doses for human testing beginning in the late summer. Joining us now to discuss his company's efforts is Dr. Leonard Schleifer, Regeneron founder and CEO. Dr. Schleifer, you greeted me here today with an elbow bump. When you were at the White House yesterday, how did the president greet you?
Well, it's funny. Actually, everybody was shaking his hands, but I told him we ought to do a bump, and we actually did a bump.
Well, maybe he'll change his approach. Tell us about the kind of tone from the administration, from the president. What level of urgency were you sort of sensing in the room yesterday?
Well, there's no question that the entire administration that was there, the president, the vice president, the head of the CDC, the head of the FDA, and a litany of others, the head of the HHS, Secretary Azar, they were all intensely focused on how quickly we could move forward. And I think what emerged was a three-part strategy. Basically, we look at whatever's available now, any antiviral that exists, and we try and throw it at this problem and hope that it works. I'm not super optimistic that that's going to yield something, but I'm hoping that it does.
You're not super optimistic?
I'm not super optimistic.
Why?
Well, for example, that was tried with Ebola, and it really didn't do that much, the standard antivirals. Now, maybe the coronavirus is a little different, but I certainly I'm hopeful that it will work.
What about your company in particular in fighting that? What do you think you guys could maybe accomplish here?
Well, so we're actually, I want to just correct something. You said this began in January. This actually began about 35 years ago when George Yancopoulos, our
chief... So it's a short story with you.
Well, our chief scientist and co-founder, 35 years ago as a graduate student, had this vision that you could make mice with a human immune system. And so once you made mice with a human immune system, you could immunize those mice with whatever you wanted in a rapid way, and then you could turn that into human antibodies that you could actually give to people to treat them. That's exactly what the team was able to do for Ebola, and we believe that's exactly what can happen here.
So you think your approach is going to be more effective ultimately in finding a coronavirus treatment than the standard?
Well, you know, I don't like to think of us, we're competing against others. We're really competing against the virus.
No, but you're competing against time. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about is we have a lot at stake here. Do we cancel the Summer Olympics?
Yes.
You know, what about, I'm hearing March Madness, the NBA, the MLB. I mean, you think about schools that are being shut down in this country. I guess the central question is, could you come up with a treatment that you felt worked well enough to forestall that kind of massive public reaction?
Well, I hope so. I mean, our timeline, we've laid it out publicly, we've showed it to people, and we're committed to keep you updated literally on a real-time basis. But where we are is we've immunized, these mice have been made, we've been working on them for decades. The technology, the seamless end-to-end technology is in place. We can go from immunization all the way to a giant 10,000-liter scale manufacturer. That's all in place. We've started the immunization. We already have tubes with lots of antibodies in them. Over the course of the next weeks, we're going to screen them for the best couple that we think could block this virus. Then we're going to use our tricks to immediately get it into scale-up and be making 200,000 prophylactic doses by August timeframe. Now, how quickly that can be deployed, and we'll do that every month, how quickly that can be deployed will depend on some of the early data that we have, some animal data, what we will see in patients. But I think we'll work closely with Dr. Fauci, and I think we can get a lot done very quickly.
So we're talking getting into human trials by August. And your expectation is that even as you start human testing, you could quickly get some initial data and then potentially deploy even more broadly.
Exactly. And so our concept is let's just not make, a lot of people would only be able to make a small amount that they can use for human testing, and then they'd have to solve the scale-up problem. I think our team's approach has allowed us to say we can do this in parallel. Let's start pouring out 200,000 doses of this stuff. Hopefully that will work prophylactically starting in August, in parallel while we're doing the clinical testing. And as soon as we get a green light that it looks good, we'll be able to deploy those large-scale approaches.
Is there more that you need from the government right now? You already have an expanded partnership with HHS. There was some joking around from the president yesterday that the drug companies already have too much money. I mean, do you need more from the administration?
Yeah, right now I think we're getting everything we need. I don't think it's literally about money for us. I'm glad to see that there's a bipartisan approach to get a lot of money thrown at this, because if we don't have a lot of resources in all sorts of places, and there are smaller companies that need real dollars because they don't have the dollars to do this, but cash is not constraining for us. I should say that this is an incredibly important moment for the country, for the world, but it's important that the pharmaceutical and the biotechnology industry deliver. You know, we go astray sometimes, and as an industry, we don't always do everything perfect, and you can just look at the polls, everybody hates us. This is a time where I hope we actually are successful for the health of people, and I hope that will transform to people understanding that we need this incredible, rich treasure of our biotechnology industry to be successful, to solve these types of problems.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the investor community about your commitment to this infectious disease? Often you find investors are not so enthralled with companies getting in to help in these kinds of situations because the payoff isn't there at the end.
Yeah, we don't really manage the business that way. We try and do what's right, and our assumption, as my dad's motto always was, if you want to do well, do good, basically. And so we are trying to do well by doing good. The investors will be cared for. Our investors, if you've been with us over the last decade, we were the 7th best performing stock. We hope we can do that again. Our bottom line is focusing on getting people well, getting people's lives saved, and the rest will take care of itself.
Lastly, I just want to ask you to address one question that's come up with other companies, the affordability of these potential solutions. Right. You know, Sanofi was called out for not declaring that its Zika vaccine, if it developed one, would be affordable. A company ultimately dropped out of developing that program. Secretary Azar was asked if he could commit that this would be affordable. What can you say to that?
Look, I can tell you it doesn't do us any good if we want to save lives to make something that's not affordable. And we've prided ourselves in making our drugs affordable, and we will make this drug affordable. There's only one buyer, probably the government, or if we do this individually, we're committed to making this affordable.
And you think your peers are as well?
I do think so. I think everybody in that room is not doing this for the benefit of their investors first. That's secondary. They really want to be part of the solution of what could be a catastrophic problem.
So you think August we could be seeing a treatment if this goes well?
Well, we certainly will have the material made that could be deployed, and we have to do the testing. And once that testing is in, and I know Dr. Fauci was in that room, and he's committed to move rapidly. So is the HHS. And so as soon as we get data, we can do this. Remember, we got data through the NIH in the Congo, in a war zone, where this approach led to an overwhelming efficacy that saved lives, literally.
Ebola, right.
For Ebola.
All right.
So,
Doctor, we appreciate it very, very much today for joining us again, for all the work that you're doing. Please keep us posted. Godspeed.
We will.
Meg Terrell, thank you very, very much as well. Coming up, President Trump saying the Fed's emergency rate cut is too little, too late, but one economist says it actually could be a case of too much, too soon. He will explain why next. As we head to break, take another look at the 10-year yield. It just touched a fresh record low, just over 1%. 1.005% is the low print we've seen so far. We'll be right back.
Shipskis presents Ski Moguls.
Welcome to beautiful Telluride. Hi, I'm Brenda Puglione, former U.S. ski team racer. When the snow is hard, that transition from one turn to the next is critical to maintaining control. The long leg, short leg tip will help you with this. Notice that when you're in a turn, the outside ski leg is longer and the uphill leg is shorter. Your long leg, short leg will reverse in every turn. When you finish one turn and are transitioning to the next, extend the old short leg at the start of the turn and pressure that new long leg all the way through. On firm snow, extending and pressuring that new outside leg early at the start of the turn is critical to bending the ski early. This will give you the control and confidence you need to conquer the slopes. We look forward to seeing you at the Telluride Ski Resort.
Presented by Ship Skis. For more, go to cnbc.com/skimoguls.
Whether you've enjoyed the legendary terrain in Telluride, the unparalleled landscape of Park City, or the famed peaks of Whistler, you face the hassle of lugging your gear through the airport. With Ship Skis, you're just a few clicks away from having your skis, snowboard, and luggage shipped from your doorstep to your destination.